Prime Minister-elect Jacinda Ardern faces a tough sell to impose last-minute changes on a free trade agreement between the 11 Pacific Rim countries, as they set to close the deal next month. Ardern has confirmed she will be heading to Vietnam in November for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation (APEC) Leaders Forum. It's her first big test on the international stage, where Jacinda Ardern will be rubbing shoulders with the likes of US President Donald Trump and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Recent reports have also suggested Russian President Vladimir Putin will be attending. No less, her yet-to-be-appointed trade minister is expected to chair a sideline meeting in the dying throes of negotiations to reach a deal on the TPP 11. And Ardern expects to change tack on negotiations and push for a ban on foreign property speculators. Though it's unclear how receptive the 10 countries will be to major last-minute inclusions, and whether such moves might open negotiations further as the international partners try to gain ground elsewhere. Leaders involved were hoping to sign the new agreement on the sidelines of APEC, which meant a tight timeline for trade officials to gain concessions while working to hold ground in other areas. Ardern told TVNZ's Current Affairs show Q+A she was confident a Labour government policy to ban foreign ownership would not force her to walk from the deal. "I refuse to accept they're mutually exclusive," she told Q+A. "Our view is that it will be possible to balance our desire to make sure that we provide housing within our domestic housing market, that's affordable, by easing demand and banning foreign speculators from buying domestic homes, whilst meeting our trade goals as well." She said both parties she had formed a government with saw the need to grow exports, see extra value gained for exporters. Green Party concerns investor-state dispute clauses would continue to be worked through. New Zealand has been deeply involved in the closing rounds of negotiations for the TPP 11. It remains the world's largest free trade agreement, despite the withdrawal of the United States by President Donald Trump. The inclusion of Japan as the world's third-largest consumer economy was seen as a particular jewel to place in New Zealand's free trade crown, and modeling under the previous government estimated the deal could add $2.5 billion annually to the economy and save New Zealand companies $222 million each year through the elimination of tariffs. Ardern said she refuted the idea moves to close off property ownership to foreign buyers would create a perception New Zealand was closed to the world. "I want us to be seen to be open to ideas, but a world leader in areas like the environment and climate change. Not closed-minded, but outward-facing, but looking after our interests. Given that most of our trading nations that we've recently signed free trade agreements with, have done exactly the same thing, I doubt they would look upon us doing anything they wouldn't consider doing for themselves." She acknowledged her APEC agenda would be tough, but she would not be forced into a TPP 11 she did not agree to. "My job is to go there and convince them to sign to an agreement that will be in our best interests as well. I'm not going to set out on this task having already decided it's too hard. I've operated in an international environment, albeit a slightly different one before. I'm used to different forms of negotiation in that kind of environment. Absolutely. Everyone brings their own interests to the table," she said. "That's what a negotiation is, that's what we've just had for the last 10 days. But my job will be to advocate on behalf of New Zealanders, both homeowners, potential home buyers and exporters." Banning foreign property speculators has been laid out in Labour's 100-day plan, which meant legislation likely had to be passed before Christmas. Such legislation would also require the renegotiation of New Zealand's free trade agreement with South Korea,